Hey, are you ready to grow your business? You have checked out the number one resource for business leaders, entrepreneurs, startup founders, and managers. And we're going to teach you how to grow and scale your business with real actionable steps. There's no fluff in this podcast. It's just good advice. Check out this episode. If you're a first-time listener, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. And if you enjoy this episode, leave us a 5-star review. Today's episode is with Scott Lee, who's the CEO and founder of Gooroo, an educational technology company that provides accessible educational videos through their Gooroo courses and personalized tutor matching services. Scott's mission is to reimagine education, unlocking every student's potential and to promote lifelong learning for all. I loved this episode. You're going to get so many great insights from it. Check it out. Here comes your good advice. Hey, thanks for checking out another episode of the Good Advice Podcast, bringing you some more good advice today with a great guest. I got Scott Lee joining the podcast all the way from New York. He's the CEO and founder of Gooroo, an educational technology company that provides accessible educational videos through Gooroo courses and personalized tutor matching services. In fact, you can check out more on their website where they actually offer an all-access pass for only $9.99. It's a killer deal. Scott, it's great to have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, first of all, I got to ask, did the magic of Gooroo come about pre-COVID or post-COVID? Because what you've developed here, I got to tell you, the timing, it's pretty good.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been over 5 years, so time flies. And definitely, I think COVID and millions of families and students are struggling. So we're thinking different ways to make education more accessible and support many students all over the States.
So talk to me a little bit about how many businesses have you, I think what I had read was that, you're a bit of an entrepreneur-minded person. Was Gooroo the first thing you put together?
Yeah, thankfully, I've grown up. My father started business and he was very young. So, my grandparents, just going far beyond, my grandparents came from North Korea. So, my father lived in a small room with six different siblings, and his goal was eating 3 meals a day. So I saw him grinding and being very persistent. So, I think that it really impacted me since I was young. And, I came to the US when I was in high school. I'm originally from Korea. So, I couldn't speak English that well, and I had to adjust everything, and I learned a lot. It was amazing experience with friends and mentors and teachers, and I founded a peer tutoring club when I was in high school, and when I go back to Korea, I wanted to help underserved children teaching English, but I couldn't find the website, so I started the nonprofit connecting between underserved children and English volunteers. That really sparked my interest in education and, helping others. And I went to the Army for 2 years after my sophomore year, started another small startup, fashion e-commerce. And briefly after JP Morgan, started Gooroo. So that was short snapshot, 10 seconds. It's probably more than 10 seconds, 20 second, 30 second snapshot of what I've done. So I've done small projects and nonprofit and fashion e-commerce, but definitely as an education technology company, it was my first time.
So why education? I mean, it sounds like you had a couple of things that interested you that you could have jumped into. Why education?
I think it really impacted my life, and also to many other people. I was a bit shocked because in Korea, when you walk down the street, there are 5-10 different tutoring centers on the street. It's part of every student's life. And so it's very, very easy to find a great tutor within your neighborhood. And in the US, surprisingly, it's not the case. I think there are some tutoring centers and agencies, but still, when I came back from the Army, I was looking for high level statistics tutor, and it was very hard for me to do so. And so I thought that, hey, is, an efficiency in the market. And so I would love to do something about it and spark their interest. But so I wanted to do something like Uber for tutors. But as I doing it and meeting a lot of people, I have found that there are a lot more than that we need to do to unlock every student's potential. And here we are right now.
Has it been interesting seeing the differences in cultures in terms of appreciation for education? Because like you mentioned, in Korea, there's a bit of a, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but just a different perception, I guess, of education. And here in the States, I used to be a high school teacher.
Oh, cool.
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And
nice.
I've been to
Which
Korea.
Subject?
Science.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you've been into Korea?
Yeah. I went to Korea last year, and amazing country, by the way.
Cool, thank you.
But there is a bit of a difference, though, in like appreciation for education. And so I'm curious to hear about. So you had this idea for Gooroo. You started putting it together. Here we are in the States with a little bit of a different. I don't know if we're just not as hardworking when it comes to education, or if it's just not as connected to our life. But as you started putting together this tutoring service, so to speak, and creating this online platform where people could learn, what were some of the challenges that you came across here in the States?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. I love American education system in terms of, really value sports, camaraderie, like clubs, activities, extracurriculum. I think that's extremely important. I do believe that really shapes, students' characteristics and early development. So I really, really loved it. I was president at like Soup Kitchen, Model UN, and I played 3 sports, and I absolutely loved it. I think that's what's one of the, I loved learning different subjects, but at the same time, the focus on extracurriculum was amazing. And I think it really, really impacted my life. So in Korea, they focus too much, I think, on academics. I remember one semester I took 12 subjects, and literally after school, they go to tutoring center, they study until 1 a.m. And a lot of students sleep during classes because they had to study so much after school. And it's like all in on, I think it's been updated, so I'm not too like up to date to what they're doing right now, but they heavily focus on one like Korean national exam, like one time. It's not even like few times like SAT. So one time, if you're sick that day, too bad. You have to take it. And if you don't do well, you have to wait one more year, study all day at this like tutoring center or whatnot, and then just study for that. And I think there are pros and cons. And I think no system is perfect. No one's perfect. There are always strengths and weaknesses. And I think I'm trying to, gather together what works in the, Korea, what works in the US. And maybe if we can make it synergy, it might be even more beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love the idea of just accessible education because, like you mentioned, maybe in Korea, there's too heavy a focus on the academics, but in other places, we could definitely do a better job of providing education for people who are in need. So I love the concept of Gooroo. Whenever you were coming up with this idea and you started putting it together, what were some of the challenges you faced creating it?
Definitely, besides the education component, the tech, building an app, website, the back end is extremely tough. My major is operations research. It's like part of industrial engineering, and I took a few CS courses at Columbia, but this is not easy. And also it looks simple, like just matching tutors and students, scheduling, but it's a lot of different components putting it together. And I'm so thankful to meet Ramon, our CTO right now. He's a very talented, smart guy, very humble. He built the whole back end when he first joined. And, we're so thankful to have amazing website and our, app because of him. And so it's a lot of work. And sometimes, some founders and CEOs think it's simple, but it's much more complicated than you think. And so I'm so thankful to have amazing tech team and product team who are so passionate about education. And I think that, as you know, this is a marketplace. So building a community of teachers and instructors and, have great relationship with them, it takes time. I think education, the building credibility takes time. And I think I learned so much meeting so many different parents and students and grabbing lunch and coffee with our teachers. It's amazing. I missed that though, after COVID, obviously it's like virtual, not like what we're doing. And I think I got used to it, but still, I think nothing will replace the in-person interaction.
Well, hopefully we'll be getting back to it sometime in the future. You said a couple of things I want to ask you about. And first of all, you said it's not easy. And you also said it takes time. And you had a really great comment that a lot of CEOs and startup founders, they don't understand that. And it almost feels like social media creates this image of starting a business or running a business as so simple and almost overnight. I really appreciate your perspective that this stuff is actually hard work. It's never easy to create something worth having. Do you feel like some entrepreneurs, they get into business and they don't really understand the full commitment that they're going to have to give to create their business?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, if you think about it, the relationship with people is very hard because we are all very different and no one's perfect. And I think sometimes when entrepreneurs start their business, they're overly confident. And they and because and that's not a bad thing, but you have to know, and you will quickly realize that the things that you thought that you're good at, you're probably not. And the humility is so important. You have to be humble, and you have to be, which I'm still learning to do, to be more humble and be more patient. But of course, the driven and like how driven you are and persistency is extremely important. But this is a long journey, and even though a lot of different companies, I don't want to name them right now, but or even countries, some countries and some company, they thought that will last forever. Usually don't. It just lasts a few hundred years. Even then, that's a long time. Yeah. And so, if you wanted to build a firm foundation of the company, which I made so many mistakes, so I don't know I've done that, but I try to, is that it takes time. It's the masterpiece always takes time. And if you wanted to have a great social, if you have a great social mission, it will even take longer. And so I think that patience is extremely important, which I learned. I wasn't patient at all. I wanted to be like, okay, let's do it, make it IPO in 5 years. I was so young when I started. Maybe I was able to do that because I was too ignorant. I was like, if I do it, I can do it, Yeah. But yeah, that's why I think I told to a lot of people, you have to start simple, start small. And I advise people not to start tech company, like start something simple, like selling things, so you don't have too much downside. But that you're a risk taker. Do you love what you're doing? Like creating something out of nothing, like hustlers, being a great salesman. Like the founder has to be a great salesperson too. So I think testing yourself, that if you suited to this kind of the founder world. Because a lot of founder I heard, they have a lot of sleeping problems. There are a lot of pressure. It's tough. So I think having that kind of project to see, project-based learning, right? Do something small, see if you like it or not, and then try different things. I think that's very important.
I think it's great advice. I mean, I think there's people especially people who are listening right now, who are maybe they're stuck in the 9-to-5 corporate world. I like your advice because I think everyone kind of dreams about the entrepreneurial life as like this very sexy thing. but it's not for everyone. And like you said, it is a lot of work and it does take a lot of time and it's freaking challenging. I mean, it's really hard. And I think to start small and not, I talked to someone who they were going to buy a truck to start their business, like $50,000. And I was like, well, you don't even know if you like this yet, So like, don't do anything like that. Like start small. So I think your advice is really great. I'm curious. You talked a second ago about being able to sort of hang on because it's going to take time. How have you personally stayed patient, especially early on? I mean, right now you have this awesome web platform. I was scrolling through it earlier today and I was like, this is pretty cool. And
thank you.
The $9.99 offer is really great as well. Super affordable. So I was really impressed. It's easy to look at it now and be like, okay, this is pretty cool. But I want to go back to like the first year with Scott Lee or the second year. How did you stay patient?
I wasn't patient at all. I have to be honest with you. I was just stubborn and I mean, in a good way, I guess you can look at it as persistent, but I just keep trying. I was just keep pushing forward. I think we built I think we literally start over again twice, which is crazy. And thankfully Ramon joined. And I'm so thankful that he made that decision because his last job, he was there for 11 years and then he came to 2-bedroom apartments. So he's definitely very passionate about education. And, I'm so thankful. I learned a lot from him and because of him, I can trust the tech and product and we are aligned with our mission. And so I think if you're persistent and passionate, I think I was very lucky to meet amazing team members along the journey. It's like when you're looking for Treasure Island, you got into bump into things out of nowhere. And I was so fortunate to meet amazing investors, amazing team members, who want to really make the education system better for next generation. And I learned so much. I think the first year I had no clue what I was doing. I was just confident, overly confident. And yeah, I'm lucky enough to given opportunities to learn. Mm-hmm. And trying to get to where we wanted to be and meet amazing team members. I think I was very fortunate. I think the fact that we're able to do what we're doing right now, but it was definitely, you learn a lot over 5 years. But I hope that the listeners who don't want to make too many mistakes like me, I think that it's tough battle because even over 90% of startups fail within 3 years. The statistics show. My professor at Columbia Business School, I didn't go to business school, but I had a chance to take one class there. He told me that the odds of making more money as a yellow cab driver is greater than entrepreneur. Yeah, that's what he said before Uber came up. So I don't know now, but that's what he told me, and I think that's true.
Yeah, wow, that's a crazy statistic to digest. You said you were pretty fortunate. You were pretty lucky to find great team members, great investors. I want to ask you something that it's not very exciting to talk about. Someone was asking me, what are the things that are mandatory to have a successful business? And one of the answers I gave was, you have to have good luck. And the person was like, well, that's not a very good answer. Cause like, you can really control luck. Cause like, you could be a hard worker, you could be diligent, you could be persevering, what have you, but luck. But on the same token, I've seen how like COVID, for example, for businesses that have sort of an online presence or an online platform, as challenging as how COVID's been, that has been helpful for their businesses. And on the flip side, I think about someone who started a restaurant in like February of last year, like a month before COVID. That person was pretty unlucky. So what's your take on luck and how it affects your business?
I think my dad always focused on, he never told me to study hard or anything like that, but he's always focused on the perspective, trying to learn from everything, from everyone. if you think about it, I think the fact that the listeners, if you're born in America, it's such a blessing. If you think about it, if my grandparents didn't escape from North Korea, I would be in North Korea. We were used to be one country for over 5,000 years, but now, I don't know. I heard that their son, the first son, my father was the second son, first son they thought that it will be reunited. So they left their first son to the relative's house and then came to South Korea, and then it was separated. So they tried to find their first son, and I think we can't even find him yet. So
Jeez.
Probably I couldn't even, I don't know what happened to me or my father, but think about that. The fact that you have an opportunity to dream something, that's amazing. I mean, Steve Jobs, I just came to my mind. His drop out of the college, he wasn't, I think didn't get the most resources from his family or whatnot, but he got an opportunity. I think being optimistic and trying to look at things in a very positive way will be extremely, extremely important. Like my father didn't have nothing. He had nothing. Seriously. That's why that drives me a lot move forward, because I'm so fortunate to even come to US and have amazing education. I'm so fortunate. And so a lot of times we had difficulty. I think life is all about that, how you react to those situations. What are you going to do? And startups, you get thousands of no's. I'm like, you get so used to that. I don't get even hurt anymore. It's like, oh, it's part. Oh, okay. Sleep well. Okay, let's go. Tomorrow's a new day. I think that mentality is extremely important. I learned something. It's a valuable lesson. Okay, let's move forward. So I think that kind of perspective is extremely important. Some people will be so jealous what you are doing right now. Some people in this world right now, the fact that you're speaking English is a blessing. Not many people, so many people struggling, even, and you probably know, even have a good meal a day, having a good water, clean water. So many millions of people are struggling right now. So the fact that you're listening to this, you can speak English, you have a great opportunity. Just, let's be, you have an amazing opportunity, so I think it's all about perspective, how you look at the situation. And today is the day. It's called present, right? I just thought about that. It's gift. And you're listening to good advice. Maybe this is a good luck, guys. So great luck, I hope.
Yeah. I mean, geez, man, that's such great advice though. I mean, I feel challenged just listening to, you're so right though. It feels like these things that are really mundane to us, we like I said, we just treat them as mundane, like the things you just mentioned, having a roof over your head, having, you go through a week and you get one customer and it's like, oh, I only got one customer. It's like, yeah, well, you got one more than zero, I mean, you got somebody who paid you to do work. So I think that perspective on gratitude and appreciation and gratefulness and optimism, I feel like that goes a long way in terms of the fuel. Because like you mentioned earlier, this stuff takes a while. It takes a while to build your business. And I think as entrepreneurs, one of our biggest challenges is having enough fuel in the tank, enough energy to put up the fight over a long period of time. It sounds like what you're saying is a great way to stay fueled up, is to use that optimism to keep going.
Yeah, everyone is a masterpiece. God created everyone with a reason. And it's a blessing to wake up every morning. A lot of things that we thought as a granted, like, walking down the street without mask, now, we appreciate that even more. Meeting people without, any feeling dangerous. I think a lot of times someone told me that the most precious thing in the world is free. The sunlight, looking at the sky, the air, the heartbeat, everything. If we start appreciate things that we have it as granted, I think you will have amazing, even much bigger energy to do something, because it's a wonderful thing. And a lot of people, especially human nature, we want exclusive things, exclusive activity. We want something that, a high demand, low supply things, right? Which tend to be very expensive. But if you open your eyes, the really most beautiful and most precious things it's free. And if you start appreciate people, things around you, I think you will find an amazing opportunity. And be open-minded, because sometimes if you're too goal-driven, you will miss a lot of amazing opportunities around you. So I think be open-minded, be positive. And I think that the luck that you just mentioned will come to you.
Well, it's such great advice. Talk to me a little bit about what's next for Gooroo.
Yeah, I think I really want us to come back to the office, but I think I'm so thankful that we have a fantastic team who works very, very hard, and we're working remotely. I haven't seen them for a while since the cases went so high, but we will keep pursuing to make education more accessible. There are 1.2 billion learners who are affected by COVID. And so I think we have amazing creative ideas to make sure that we can make it even more engaging than online just videos. And so you will see a few exciting updates from us, how we'll move forward with that. And so I think, I want us to be, again, open-minded, innovative education technology company, so that we can really impact the students, for next generations, because the future of education will be very, very different. And, I think that the technology is advancing so quickly that we really want to focus on the things that only human can do, that AI or technology cannot replace so easily. And so, yeah, we'll keep moving forward. We'll keep humble and listen to our students and see what we can do for them.
You see, you've used that phrasing, being humble, a couple of times now, and it sounds like you're very open to other perspectives, other ideas, which is a bit of a contrast. It's a bit different from some executives, some CEOs who are very much, I can't think of the wording, like this bravado, like this, I'm the boss, you work for me, you do what I say. You're a bit of a different personality than what I see sometimes in the stereotypical CEO, but it sounds like you're leaning into who you are instead of trying to be somebody different.
I think maybe I failed too many times. I made too many mistakes. I know that, I'm definitely not the smartest guy. I think there are so many things you can learn. And also education is also unique because every student learns differently. So you have to be open-minded, because there's not one size fit all system, or way to help our students. And every country have different cultures, it's they have different learning styles. It's just so many different ways. So
I was wondering what you meant by open-minded, but it sounds like you're talking about being open for how the business should evolve rather than it having to be, everyone has to learn this very particular way or has to be done a very certain way. Is that true? Is that what you mean by open-minded?
Yeah, we're just humans. We're all ignorant. We want to think that we're very intelligent, but out of all this universe is so big, the knowledge that we have is so limited. You have to know that. I think the first step, that the fact that you're ignorant, is a first step to go beyond that's a reality here. So even though you learn 10,000 years reading everything, you wouldn't be as intelligent as you wish. So I think that just be open-minded. If you want to be lucky, I think, of course, persistence and driven is very important. But at the same time, you have to be open-minded. I guess it's a little bit too contrasting, but that's true. So I'm just going to say, because it's good advice podcast. So I'm going to say what I want to say.
No, it's great. I mean, as a fellow entrepreneur and business owner, just listening, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm seeing how this applies to me. And you're giving a bit of an introspective look. You know, a lot of times I think one of the other things about being an entrepreneur, it's like the personal growth journey. And you've talked about the mistakes you've made. And I think a lot of times what's so challenging about entrepreneurship is it is all on your shoulders. You know, you are the founder, you are the creator. And so this business succeeds or fails on you. And you made a comment earlier, you know, things that you think you've always thought you were good at. Now it's like, oh, wait, I'm not good at that. And so I think the personal growth journey is pretty interesting too, and pretty challenging. So I think you've given some good challenges, some good advice today for sure.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for your kind words.
Well, tell me about, as we're closing up, for people who want to, maybe people who are listening, who they want to actually check out Gooroo, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, our website is gooroo.com, Gooroo.com. We have apps as well. But yeah, and feel free to check out. And if you need any tutoring help or any additional education needs, please contact us. And my email is scott@gooroo.com. I always say to other podcasts, if you have any questions or if you want to have a virtual chat, please feel free to reach out to me. As you know, so many mentors and friends helped me throughout the journey. And if there's any way I can help, I'd love to do so.
And then Scott, are you on LinkedIn?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. So I'll put your LinkedIn bio, the link down in the episode description as well.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right, Scott, thanks so much for being on the episode today. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks for your time, guys.
Hey, thanks for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, what the heck are you waiting on? Click that subscribe button so you can keep following our good advice wherever you are. Be sure to check out Scott's LinkedIn profile, also the website for Gooroo, gooroo.com. That's Gooroo.com. They are offering 25% off online tutoring and free online courses right now during the COVID pandemic. So make sure you check that out. And hey, if you haven't checked it out yet, you got to go to our Patreon, patreon.com/goodadvice, where you can support the podcast and even get your business sponsored on the podcast. Again, you'll go to patreon.com/goodadvice for that. Hey, thanks for listening and checking us out. We'll see you later. Take care.